On this edition of Native Report, we travel to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where we tour the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center and discover the history, culture, and art of New Mexico's 19 pueblos.
We then step into the courtyard at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center and experience the Sky City Buffalo Ram Dance Group as they perform traditional dances.
And we head to Santa Fe, where we meet award-winning artist Nacona Burgess, one of many vendors at Santa Fe Indian Market.
We also learn what we can do to lead healthier lives and hear from our elders on this edition of Native Report.
Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community, the Blandin Foundation, and the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation.
Welcome to Native Report. I'm Ernie Stevens.
And I'm Rita Aspinwall. The Indian Pueblo Cultural Center bills itself as the gateway to the 19 pueblos in New Mexico. The IPCC leads the world in educating visitors about the legacy of resilience, accomplishments, and living history of the Pueblo people. It is a vibrant place for people of all cultures to share, learn, and discover. For over 40 years, the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in downtown Albuquerque has offered visitors a glimpse into Pueblo culture through exhibits, educational activities, cultural demonstrations, even offering a unique dining experience.
It was opened in 1976 by the 19 Pueblos of New Mexico. They act as tenants in common here with a unified mission to preserve and perpetuate Pueblo culture and for educational purposes. And so the building was founded around that concept. And we're proud of ourselves that over 40 years later, we continue that same legacy. There's Native American dances that are happening every weekend throughout the year. We have the Shumakolwa Native American art shop, and they can purchase authentic arts and crafts. We also have the Pueblo Harvest Cafe, which is Native American fusion, and our chef is great. And then we have the Daily Artist Program. And what we allow is Native American artists to come and sell their wares direct.
The museum has two exhibits, one a rotating exhibit and the other is a permanent exhibit. We are of this place, the Pueblo story.
It starts out with our origin story, and it tells the story of emergence. Pueblo people have a shared belief on our emergence story, so that's told. And then you go through the exhibit and we have the Gifts of the Creator section. Pueblo people are people of the land. It tells our story of how we utilize plants and animals and the resources of the earth to exist. Once you leave the Gifts of the Creator section, you get into the traditional teachings area. Now, there's really no book or guide that says how to be a Pueblo person. Our stories, our traditions are passed on orally. And so in this section, we share that and we talk about how the stories are passed on through the creation of objects. And so in that area, you can see traditional drum making, moccasin making, basket weaving. We have a woven turkey feather blanket. The museum renovation team really took time and looked at the way that it was woven. And one of our team members said, imagine at the time of Spanish contact when the Spaniards came through, this was a form of taxation. This blanket, they were taxing Pueblo people with bushels of corn, with turkey feather blankets, with labor. And imagine the amount of work that went into this blanket and then for it to be taken and used as a form of taxation. So that was really interesting to see the museum team come together around one object and really have a sense of history through that object. So our collection that we have for the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center is more than 3,000 objects of cultural significance to Pueblo people. So So it ranges from 2D, 3D, textiles, paintings, and prints. And as we're curating our exhibits, we go through the collection, not only the object collection, but the media collection, whether it's recordings, whether it's sound bites, interviews from the past, printed documents, and we look for ways that we can represent the 19 Pueblo communities.
In addition to the museum, visitors can take in traditional dance demonstrations held daily outside in the courtyard. And afterward, if they worked up an appetite, they can dine in the Pueblo Harvest Cafe.
Traditional dance for us is really special. We don't dance for applause or as a form of entertainment. Dancing for us is a form of prayer. And so the dance groups that perform here are doing it for educational purposes so they can teach and share. So it's really nice for the visitors because they get to not only experience the dance, but they get to hear from the dance group on why they're performing. At the Pueblo Harvest Cafe, which is located inside the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, we have an amazing menu. We offer Southwest foods, enchiladas, blue corn, things that people are typically gonna find. And then we offer native fusion. So one of my favorite things on the menu is our blue corn crusted Kool-Aid fried pickles. And so what our chef has done is sliced up the pickle, covered them in blue corn, and fried them. They are so good. And we also do blue corn onion rings. And so it's like native fusion. It's like you can go anywhere to get an onion ring, right? But where else can you go to get a blue corn crusted onion ring? It's so good. And the dipping sauce that they do is ranch with green chili. And so it's like, it's not a typical dining experience. It's really unique. So one of the unique things about the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center is that we do practice Pueblo hospitality. It's a way of welcoming, it's a way of being. We want the guests that come through to feel like they're part of the family and like they're a part of us, and that they're not in a space where they're not welcome, but that they can feel comfortable enough to ask questions, engage with our guests, and experience who we are as Pueblo people. We don't want to be a place where somebody comes to learn about one Pueblo or another, but where our guests can get a general representation of who we are as a unified Pueblo nation.
A hernia is when something protrudes through a defect in the abdominal wall. This can either be through a passage that is already there or through an area that has become weakened. Some of those areas people are born with and others develop over time. The most common hernia is called an inguinal hernia, and those are located in the groin. These represent about 70% of all hernias and are more common in men. The testicles start out as the bottom part of the kidneys before birth and descend into the scrotum on a cord called the gubernaculum. That passageway seals itself closed most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't close completely or it opens up due to pressure in the abdominal cavity. The pressure that causes most hernias is from lifting improperly, from constipation, and sometimes diarrhea, and sometimes from coughing or sneezing. Checking for an inguinal hernia is part of the high school sports exam and turns out to be pretty embarrassing for many. A gloved finger is inserted into the inguinal canal at the upper part of the scrotum, and the turn your head and cough part increases abdominal pressure, and if there is a weakness in the canal, it can be felt as a bulging on coughing. A loop of intestine can get stuck in the inguinal canal in the worst cases. Inguinal hernias can be classified as direct or indirect, but both are in the same general area. Other common hernias are umbilical hernias, and this is a bulge in the umbilicus or navel, or belly button. This is usually fat that protrudes through, but sometimes these can be very uncomfortable. Incisional hernias are in the area of previous abdominal surgery, and the risk of getting them is increased in people who are obese or who are inactive after surgery. Hiatal hernias are when part of the stomach gets pushed back through the opening in the diaphragm that the esophagus comes through. These can't be seen from the outside and sometimes show up on x-rays. Most of the time, these hernias cause gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. This is stomach contents and acid going backward into the esophagus, causing a burning sensation. If a hernia gets stuck or incarcerated, it can be painful, but if it gets strangulated and a blood supply gets cut off, this is an emergency and it needs to be fixed right away. Any hernia that is causing pain or discomfort should be fixed, and the repair is surgical. Many of these can be done with laparoscopic surgery, which means through a few poke holes for a camera and some instruments that fit into tubes. The recovery time for this is much shorter than an open surgery, and most people go home the same day. Often a mesh reinforcement is used to strengthen the hernia repair and to keep it from recurring. Non-traditional tobacco use is actually a risk for developing hernias, and as always, call and make an appointment to see your provider about ways to stop smoking. We are only too happy to help you with that. Remember to call an elder. They've been waiting for your call. I'm Dr. Arnie Vineo, and this is Health Matters.
Since time immemorial, Pueblo communities have celebrated seasonal cycles through prayer, song, and dance. The Indian Pueblo Cultural Center is the only place in North America to offer traditional Native American dances every week on a year-round basis. Join us now as we experience the Sky City Buffalo Ram Dance Group of Acoma Pueblo.
Dancers enter the courtyard at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center on this warm afternoon, moving to the rhythm of the drums. This is the Sky City Buffalo Ram Dance Group from the Pueblo of Acoma.
We got a total of 22 dancers right now. They all age 22 to 8 years old. The group is well known, so we get a lot of or asked to perform at different, private events, and we perform a lot here at the Indian Cultural Center, and also a lot of outside private events. And we do it year round. Probably the summer is the busiest time. I know there's some months like July and October where we're kind of taking it easy because we do have our religious ceremonies, in Acoma. So it is a year round. Just keeping them busy. When they dance here at the Cultural Center, they usually dance an hour. So it's an hour performance, 30 minutes, rest 5-10 minutes, and then they're back out the next half hour.
I started this group about at least 7 years ago. Me and another partner, we started this, and he went off to go do other things, so I continued it just for the kids. The kids love to dance very much, so they want to keep that traditional part of them with them themselves and go out and show the public this is who we are and this is where we come from. At home, we consider it a social dance that brings happiness to people's hearts, their souls, and puts a smile on their face by watching the kids dance and perform. How hard they practice, how hard they put every effort into each dance, each song. A lot of kids really love performing for people, and they love to see people happy. And when you're out there dancing and singing, you do see a lot of people moving their feet, moving their body, and that brings a good feeling to these kids. They love performing, and they love taking pictures with people and from wherever they come from.
The group practices at least once per week, sometimes more. Their dance regalia is traditional, and the animal dancers mimic the movements of the ram, buffalo, and elk. However, there are contemporary elements that the dancers and singers bring to their performances.
These kids put their own moves in, their own style. I let them be creative with what they want, with the songs that they hear. All our songs are originally created by me and my other two brothers. We sit down and we go over, we put lyrics together. Some songs have our native language in it, and some songs have to put English in it, just for people to understand at the same time. So we do practice very hard. They do practice out in the sun, the wind. If it's raining, these kids will practice. They practice real hard. Sometimes we go over the songs more than once just so they can get the moves down right. A social dance that, brings happiness to people, that brings good feelings to people.
I'm Ruben Schroeltine. I'm 13 years old, and I've been dancing for almost 4 years now. And I dance the ram. The things I use for my hands can be considered my front legs. And I dance it because first time I did it, I just really liked it. And I just started to love it, so I stayed with this group. And I just loved it ever since.
My name is Mia Trivio. We hold a feather and evergreen and flowers because we just think it looks very nice, and our moccasins, and we like to match because I think it looks very nice, and I love dancing because it makes me happy and it makes my family happy, and it's just the thing I've always loved doing since I was 6 years old.
My name is Tyson Lewis, and I've been dancing for 1 year now, and we use rattles and bows, and the hides are made out of goat hair, and they're pretty heavy when they start dancing, but after a while it gets pretty light, and we got shells on our body to represent the rain and weather. We got our kilts and then turtle shells to make our noises. What it means to me to dance is it's part of our tradition, our culture, and it brings me back into our tradition because we're kind of losing it slowly, and I just love it. It's awesome.
They dance with their heart, you know, they love to dance, and you know, it's just a blessing for everybody, and you know, at the end everybody's happy, everybody goes home with, you know, a blessed heart, you know, everybody goes home happy and start a new day the next day. So we do it all for the kids and they enjoy it, and so I'm glad to be a part of the group, and we just like to have fun.
It brings a good feeling to my heart to see these young kids love what they do, especially trying to keep the tradition alive. I do also teach them, you know, our way of life back home, our traditional ways when we practice. I tell them from right from wrong. So I do incorporate a lot of things, like now they're back in school, so a lot of it has to do with grades. If you don't make the grades, I won't let you dance until you bring those grades up. A lot of the kids know that now. They do appreciate that, and the parents do really appreciate me doing that for them. We just love performing for people. My kids love to dance. They put their every effort out on that dance floor. You know, I tell them what they need to do and what they need to know, and we've danced for a lot of different places now, and we're all proud to represent Nacona Pueblo.
All the artists here show their wares, their specialties, and it's a very special show. It's the biggest kind in the United States, in fact in the world of this type. And it's an honor to be in it. It's really something special. You walk around and nowhere else will you see so much art like here.
So what is your artwork?
My artwork is jewelry. I specialize in one-of-a-kind pieces. I use opal, sugilite, lapis, turquoise, carat gold, argentium silver, which has more silver content than sterling does. We use natural stone, diamonds, rubies, different stuff, but we combine them all to make fairly contemporary pieces. We've won numerous awards in different shows, and we come out in hardbacks and other magazines. We do a lot of business overseas with Japan, so we're fairly well known.
Artist Nacona Burgess comes from a family of artists, and his acrylic portraits are reminders that his subjects are human beings. As he paints them, he researches who they are and where they're from. Join us now as we visit his booth at the Santa Fe Indian Market.
The vendor booth of artist Nacona Burgess has been busy this first morning of Santa Fe Indian Market, with many people stopping by to look at his paintings and maybe even make a purchase. Nocona claims he's just a painter, but his paintings inspire and educate through their unusual techniques and positive dialogues between past and present.
I started out at the University of Oklahoma in architecture school, and then I kind of came out here one summer, and fell in love with Santa Fe and kind of never went back. And so I just I started doing art, and start kind of painting and drawing. I've always kind of done it in school and as a kid and stuff, but and I kind of avoided it for a while, but I just finally, I had to do it. And so I've been a full-time artist for about 20 years now. And, you know, it's a good thing. I love it. I'm just a painter. You know, a lot of people kind of go, "Oh, do you do this? Do that?" I said, "No, I'm a one-trick pony." And my quote is, I always say, "It's okay to be a one-trick pony if it's a good trick." You know, so I love it. I could do it every day, and it's just something that I have passion about. I hope to grow as an artist. You know, trying different techniques. The stuff here is mostly based on historical old photographs. I use them as a reference, and so you know, the idea with painting historical people is that I want to kind of breathe life back into them, you know, because all these old photographs have turned into like postcards and iconic people, and you know, the romantic, you know, the noble savage, Indian in a blanket. But you know, when I paint these guys, I try to find out as much information as I can about them. What time this was, what era, what tribe, you know, their name, you know, and any little tidbit about them to kind of, you know, make them alive again. I titled most of the paintings, if I know their name, it's just their name. You know, like one of the paintings that I did is his name's Wolf Robe and he's Cheyenne. You know, so when people get these, you know, they're saying that, you know, they say, "Oh, this is a painting of Wolf Robe and he's Cheyenne, and Cheyennes are from here and here, and this is the area," you know, so people kind of get a sense of who they are, when they are, where they are.
Nacona, a self-described history buff, lives in Santa Fe and works at the Institute of American Indian Arts. He does other paintings such as abstracts, but his subjects are mostly animals and historical portraits. He is an award-winning artist.
That one's a Yaqui deer dancer. And so it was kind of out of the norm that I did it. You know, I won first on it. I tried something kind of experimental this summer. I kind of got ahead. I kind of got caught up with some of my paintings. And so I wanted to kind of try something a little bit different, like a different brush stroke, a different feel to it. And so even like a little bit different palette on some things. And so I tried it on these two, and I did a few more paintings, and I entered these two in the competition. They won, so I guess maybe we did something right. But yeah, I'm always just looking and experimenting, you know, trying to be a better painter, you know, being experimental and kind of pushing and testing myself and not just, you know, cookie cutter and just kind of cranking them out. So it was nice to, you know, get the award and kind of go, wow, you know, people saw what I was kind of thinking. They're cool looking, you know, so I just wanted to, you know, do something different. Because I do majority of Plains images because I'm a, you know, Plains Indian, but I do, you know, some Southwest tribes and things like that, but I just couldn't resist this image. And I do contemporary people. I've done a series of contemporary people. You know, I see people that I want to paint, you know, or I have an idea. Like I did an Archer series, and my model was a 17-year-old girl from Santo Domingo, Pueblo. And so, you know, so it's cool to kind of paint it that way too, but it's the same. I mean, just because it was like, you know, 2014 of a young lady from Santo Domingo, Pueblo, it's the same as these, you know, it's just a different era.
So are you a native artist or just an artist who happens to be native?
Who knows? You know, I mean, every time the interview or thing like that, I'm like, I don't know, I don't know who thinks about it, you know, I just kind of roll in, because, you know, I'll put Comanche artist on my card just, you know, to kind of do that, but yeah, you know, I don't care. And, you know, some people get upset, you know, "Oh, I'm not a native art, I'm just art." I don't even care, you know, I'm just like, whatever. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't change how I approach anything, you know, and because I just kind of rumble in and paint and do my thing, and I don't, you know, so I don't worry about I let everybody else worry about that.
Nacona is a longtime supporter of the Southwestern Association for the Indian Arts and has had a booth at Indian Market every year since 2003.
I love it, and I was just kind of telling people this morning, we were kind of chatting about that. I said, I try, you know, I don't want to take it for granted that, you know, ever, you know, I really try and appreciate what happened, because it's been a long time coming. It's almost 100 years, but I'm like, just think about it. 150,000 people converge onto this town and double the size of this town, and they're spending $130, $140 million on Indian art. You know, and Indian art made Santa Fe. You know, Indian art is the reason why the La Fonda is here. You know, the reason why all this, you know, stuff here, the Pueblo style home, this is all Native American stuff. The food, chilies are indigenous, you know, and the corn, and, you know, everybody likes pozole, and it's here, you know, and that's what I appreciate. You know, I think people get that same feel from art that they get from other things, you know, a religion, or, you know, and so yeah, so it's really, you know, it's really amazing, because you just kind of see it over the week kind of build up, you know, and it builds up into, you know, this, I don't know, just this experience where it's crowded, you know, and it's packed full of these people, and people are just crazy about it, and I love that. So I just really make sure that I pay attention, that I notice, all the stuff going on and the conversations I'm having. Because it's not just art or people buying art, but it's about these conversations you're having. You're educating people on it. Because people will come in and not know. You know, they ask questions, and some people go, oh, they ask silly questions, but they don't know. We're a small population, so it's our job as artists to educate people so that when they walk away, they know more about it.
For more information about Native Report or the stories we've covered, look for us on the web at nativereport.org, on Facebook, and on Twitter.
Thank you for spending this time with your friends and neighbors across Indian country. I'm Rita Aspinwall.
And I'm Ernie Stevens. Join us next time for Native Report.
Rita Aspinwall is an enrolled member of the Fond du Lac Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, and is an ICWA social worker with Fond du Lac Social Services. Ernie Stevens is a member of the Oneida Nation of Wisconsin and is a film and television producer. Production of Native Report is made possible by grants from the Shakopee-Mdewakanton Sioux community, the Blandin Foundation, and the Duluth Superior Area Community Foundation.